happening to you all up there at the International Space Station? A crew of 13 members on board. How are things going?
Things are moving along. It's been a real challenge. We've had 4 spacewalks completed, multiple robotic arm movements, many of those happening at the same time. Very complex. Didn't go all according to schedule, but we're back on track.
Astronaut Thomas Marshburn, you completed a 7-hour spacewalk yesterday. Was that the longest ever spacewalk you've ever completed, and what did you do?
Longest of my 2, and yes, sir, it was amazing. Had a great crewmate out there with me. It was very exhilarating, very exciting, and a lot of support all around. The robotic operations working with Julie and Doug was intense at times, but we really enjoyed it.
Well, I've got a question for Chris Cassidy. You experienced some tense moments. We're talking about spacewalks. You experienced some tense moments during a spacewalk with rising carbon dioxide levels in your suit. It was moving pretty fast. Describe what was happening for us back here. What was happening to you?
There's a component in the spacesuit that absorbs the CO2, the carbon dioxide poisonous gas that we exhaust, and that component wasn't quite working as that was planned in other systems, and the ground is there keeping track of all that and monitoring those numbers. I felt fine the whole time, and I really felt great knowing that the ground had me in good hands and making recommendations on when we ought to head back. So we were well under control. The impact was we didn't get all of our jobs done, but we made up for that in the following EVA, so it worked out just fine.
Also on board is Indiana native David Wolf, Dr. David Wolf. So we want to know, we had an opportunity to talk to your mother actually twice.
Yes, that's right.
She's so excited about you. Is there anything you wanted to tell her from space right now?
Minneapolis is about the prettiest place in the world, and we can see it from space a couple times a day up here. And looking forward to hearing what happens in the Brickyard this weekend. Wish I could be there. Hello to my mom. She's having fun with this. A lot of friends there. Sure miss Indianapolis. I can't wait to get back soon after the flight and tell all the stories.
Well, speaking of stories, Dr. Wolf, if you could, you're an inspiration to kids out there that want to do what you do. Any advice for the kids that are watching, even parents that want to kind of steer them towards space exploration?
Well, yes. I'm glad they're inspired by space. And what's important is they pick what to do before they work in space or before they're an astronaut and do really well at that. Follow their interests, do good at it, and somewhere in that sequence they may end up at NASA or an astronaut or in space.
We got one final question for you, and this one any one of you can answer because we all know what it's like when you really got to go to the bathroom. And I understand on Sunday one of the toilets failed, and we want to know how things are up there in space.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal. We've got 3 on board station if you count the shuttle toilet while we're docked, and it's a little bit of a traffic jam in the mornings, but other than that, we manage pretty well, and the ground team has kept all 3 of them running pretty well, so we're pretty happy up here.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much for joining us live. This was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. 13 members on board the Space Shuttle Endeavour up there at the International Space Station, and they're actually working on a Japanese laboratory.
Yes, yes.
Great talking to all of you.
Endeavour ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WREG-TV portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from CBS News.
Endeavour ISS, this is CBS News. How do you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Well, good morning. It's Peter King in Florida, and Bill Harwood will be talking to you from Houston in just a couple moments. You guys look terrific, and hope you're all doing well. Let me start with Chris Cassidy, please. 2 EVAs in a row, Chris. There were concerns about your CO2 levels. You wound up ending both of them early. Chris, was EVA more difficult than you anticipated, and what can you do to make sure that this doesn't happen again during EVA 5 on Monday?
Well, with the EMU, it scrubs out your CO2, and that system didn't work quite as we expected on EVA 4, but EVA 3, and yesterday during EVA 4, we got the full capacity out of the suit with a 7-hour EVA there and accomplishing all of our tasks. What I learned in my 2 EVA experience is just go slow early, and just slow and steady wins the race. And that's all we're going to do on EVA 5, just do the same thing. Just go nice and slow and work methodically and accomplish the tasks that we're able to accomplish.
For Shuttle Commander Mark Polansky, Mark, during this past week's celebrations of the Apollo 11 mission, a group of Apollo veterans criticized the shuttle and station programs, saying that Mars and beyond would have probably been the better choice. Jim Lovell actually called the station almost a white elephant. Obviously, you and your crew are up there doing work that you think is worthwhile. So how would you explain to them and all Americans why the space station and shuttle program have been so important?
A couple things. I mean, first off, I can't go back in history and talk about the events that ended the Apollo program and led us to the space shuttle, because I wasn't around back then. But now that we have it, the shuttle, as you know well, is a remarkable vehicle. I mean, it does things that no other vehicle does. It does a lot of heavy lifting for most of the major components that we've brought to the International Space Station. Nothing else could carry up a lot of the pieces that we did. On my first mission, I carried a laboratory up here, the U.S. Laboratory Destiny, for example. So the shuttle's done a really incredible job and allows us to get a lot of hardware up here, which we're doing right now. As far as station, it does 2 things, in my opinion. Number one, of course, it has the ability to do a lot of research. And I'll grant you that maybe we have not gotten to the point where we've done the amount of research that we have hoped to, but we're getting there. We now have most of the station complete. We have a lot of world-class facilities. We have a crew of 6 for the first time permanently up here, and I think we're entering that era where we will get that sort of payback from it. The other thing, which maybe isn't intangible, but I think is really important, is if you look at the crew right now, you have 13 crew members up here, and you have every single major international partner of space station represented by a crew member. That means that it is truly an international space station. And if you think about what it takes to get all of these countries, including Russia, the United States, Japan, all the European countries, Canada, everybody that's participated, to get them actually working together on a project that occurs 200 miles up and out of the atmosphere, I think that's a pretty amazing accomplishment and bodes well about international cooperation.
Hey, guys, this is Bill Harwood at the Johnson Space Center. Let me ask Tim Copper a question kind of along the same lines. Tim, you know, you've only had a few days to sample your new home. I'm curious about what your initial impressions are. And to follow up Peter's question, what would you say to Congress about funding the station past 2015?
Well, Bill, I'm sorry, Tim's not actually in here right now, so we could answer for him if you'd like.
No, Mark, you can answer. I'm sorry, I was looking in the back of there, and I saw Doug Hurley, and I was thinking, wait a minute, that's not Tim. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, certainly, you know, Tim's spending a lot of time getting a handover. I mean, he's done an amazing job. We wanted very much to make him a part of the shuttle team and not just some guy that we're taking up to drop off. So he's really had a lot on his plate. He came up here, he helped us on the first couple of days on shuttle. Immediately, as soon as we got on board, he had to transfer his seat liner, become a permanent shuttle or station crew member, and then get into the airlock, Dave Wolf to my right, to go ahead and do that first spacewalk. He did that. He's done a lot of complicated robotics, both with the station arm and the Japanese arm. He was the IV for the last EVA, and oh, by the way, he's getting all of his handover. So he's doing a remarkable job, and I think he's really going to enjoy his stay here.
Hey, thanks. Well, let me see if I can identify one of you correctly. Here's a question for Julie. Got two Canadians on board right now, and in October, Guy Laliberté is going to show up with the next station crew, the founder of Cirque du Soleil. As a veteran of weightlessness, I'm just curious how you think an acrobat might enjoy the environment up there, and whether you have any advice for him. Thanks.
I think that it is a complete privilege to be up here and to be able to see the earth from above, to float in weightlessness. So anybody that would come here would be absolutely awed at the